A very strange sequence of events led us to have these two cars in front of me. One of them is a pretty rare, probably a one of one 335 IS, and the other one is my new drift car. All right, so if the spot looks familiar, this is the same shop that I used to rent with Sebastian. He is still renting here. He's actually getting a lift put in right now, which is pretty cool. So this is like my first impression of the car. There's a huge backstory, and I guess we gotta talk about that first and how we got here. Yo, what we got going on over here?
So right now these studs are not ideal for our situation, so we're working on removing them and then just doing it the right way, which would be setting it with epoxy and stuff like that. You know, if we're gonna be lifting up cars, want to do it the right way.
Yeah, I would think so. This is, but no, this is sweet. Blue Guy Performance is getting a fucking lift.
Kind of overkill.
This is not a small lift.
You know, I just want it done right, so that's why we're here.
And this expands the possibility for,
100%.
like, this will pay for itself in no time, hopefully.
100%, because it'll offer not only easier work for me, but also faster turnaround for customers. Who doesn't like that?
Like for people that need like rod bearings or whatever, which I don't know who that person might be, but
yeah, you know, in like hypothetical scenario, if their 2008 M3 needs rod bearings, they can get it done.
Right. Hypothetically, though.
Hypothetically, of course.
Don't know who would put themselves in that situation in the first place, but but yeah, this lift is really big, and Sebastian did me a huge favor and fixed my...
Yeah, we replaced that fuel sending unit. Not sure if you've showed them.
It'll be in the video.
Yeah.
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
Yeah, that's tons of fun. Tons of fun.
Have you ever seen that before?
Not like that. No.
You haven't seen someone, that's not a common thing? People just stuff microfibers over the leaking fuel until you buy the car and then...
Not from what I've seen.
Okay.
But, you know, there's a first for everything.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a first for everything. So now I can
you know.
Write that in my little book of like, oh, you know.
Didn't have that on the bingo card for 2025?
No, absolutely not.
Yeah, me neither.
Yeah, it was also had like clay and plate on it. So that was a lot of fun. Yeah, moving the line is a lot of fun.
Did you understand it was an arts and crafts project that went wrong?
Yeah, it was arts and crafts. It was arts and crafts at what cost?
At about
cost of a fuel
5 hours of labor. At about 5 hours of labor.
And about 350 bucks.
Like 350 bucks in parts.
Yeah, shout out
PO.
I'm gonna go, I guess, drive this monstrosity home. Try not to get kicked out of the neighborhood for that one.
It's not that loud. I think you should be all right.
She's a little rough. We are tagged up though, and the plate has already been ordered, but we are tagged up for 2026. Now the selling point on the car, of course, black on red, and of course it has to be a 6-speed manual. All right, now that we're in a better spot, I can finally talk about this car. I've owned it for probably 3 weeks or so, and this is probably the worst condition E92 M3 that money could buy. It fit into my budget. Basically, I just didn't want to spend a bunch of money because this car is going to serve an entirely different purpose than my first space gray E92 M3. If you are a longtime viewer of the channel, this is actually the same spot I filmed that car when I got that car. So if you would like to, I'll leave it down below. You can see how much nicer that E92 M3 was versus this one. Primary difference being that these are going to serve completely different purposes. So thankfully this is not my primary mode of transportation. That takes a ton of weight off my shoulders, and that's really the main difference between the two E92 M3s that I have now had. This car is going to take a ton of work, and I mean a lot. We'll give a quick walk around of the car. That's really why I wanted to make this video, because I need to show you this car in its introduction state, like in the way that I got it, before we start tinkering with it and doing things to it and hopefully making it much, much, much better. I would say mechanically the car is like a 5 out of 10. That is maybe a little generous. Exterior, like a 4 out of 10. Interior, I don't know, like a 6. This car is down there on the scale of being like a nice E92 M3. And I don't think I mentioned, but this is a reconstructed title. Because this car, not reconstructed title, and of course without all the issues, will be like a $35,000, $40,000 car nowadays, and that is nowhere near close to what I paid for the car. So let's go over it and talk about it a little bit. There's not too much to it. It's an E92 M3, but it's rough. And here it is, and what little glory it actually has left. This is my 2008 E92 M3, Jerez over Fox Red, 6-speed manual, of course. That was the criteria. Black, red, 6-speed manual. And nowadays that is a tough ask, especially if you're not trying to spend collector grade car money. Finding that spec is difficult. I would have loved to have a carbon roof. I would have loved an LCI car. I would have loved the $40,000 variant of this car that would be problem free, but that's not how we do it around here, because I can't afford it. It's not as interesting, and I would feel really bad for driving it the way I intend to drive this car. So this car has an X-pipe, some Ďinen lowering springs, and a Ďinen intake. Everything else, to my knowledge so far, is stock. Oh, and it's got drilled and slotted rotors. The car does grind third. You have to double clutch third. And I'll be the first to admit that maybe I shouldn't have bought this car, but it just checked those 3 boxes that were very crucial and important to me to have like my dream M3. And you always have to start somewhere. You can go back and look at how rough my Daytona Violet E36 M3 was, but this car is definitely rougher than that car was. It's all a starting point, and you gotta start somewhere, so I'm just happy to be back in one of these. It's just really, this one is really bad. And I know I keep saying that, but I don't know if I can emphasize it enough. It looks much better on camera. So the paint, strategically parked it in the shade, but the paint is kind of Jerez still. It has a bunch of weird streaks from someone attempting polishing it at some point and then not following through, and at this moment, I don't know if it's savable. I don't know if it's clear coat that's the issue or what we're really running into, if it's just something that I can actually get out with the clay bar. I need to do some more research on that. I love E92 M3 for the wide hips and the hood and the fenders. They're just so aggressive looking out of the box. You can see even with this sunk wheel fitment. It's still a mean looking car. We are missing this mirror cap. I just noticed that as we're doing this video right now, this handle is really loose for some reason. And actually, like body wise, it's fairly straight, which is insane. The bumper mounts back here are not great, so the bumper kind of like sags, protrudes out past where it should. And of course in the front as well. I feel like that's a clapped E90 E9X indication right there in itself. This fender, fully cracked. If you guys were unaware, these are plastic fenders, not any other E92s, just the E92 M3s have the plastic fenders, which is good and bad. I mean, it is what it is. I will probably inevitably end up forking the money over for just an OEM Jerez black fender. I see them on eBay all the time. The other route is to go with the carbon ones, but I don't love like the super mean looking ventilation on those. I think that it's a little tacky. Speaking of tacky, this is the first thing I ordered amongst a few other things. We got to get rid of that, so that's already home at my house. It's in the mail. That's bird shit. This lip is really bad. I do have a new lip on the way, so the only thing that I'm fearful of is the new one doesn't come up as far, so there might be damage under this bumper that will not be covered up by the new lip. So yeah, we got a little bit of play there. We'll talk about the engine bay in a later moment, but it's, as you would expect, leaky valve covers, leaky oil pan, amongst just other things. The third gear grind really does suck. Aside from that, it's very drivable, but there are some things I'm going to be taking care of before anything else. And it's disgusting in here, which is why I'm having a hard time even driving this car right now. I have not cleaned it since I got it, because as soon as I got it, well, you guys know, all the interior is in here at least, aside from it's missing the headliner like sunroof closing piece, which will be a fun one to source. It's got like a radar hardwired in. This car's had a tough life. Seats in really good condition, which makes me believe that they are not original to the car. The previous owner had a French Bulldog that scratched the shit out of this, as well as the window and a bunch of other stuff chewed on the stock, which is awesome. Back seats are as you'd expect, hopefully just not sat in. This thing's just still full of garbage, and previous owner really did not care about this car and very much so ruined it. So I'm gonna try and bring it back. So I know it's hard to see the vision now, but I do intend on bringing this car back to its former glory. It's not a flip car, it's not, and actually for what I already have into it, I'm not flipping it. It is going to be my next graduation up from building an E36. So I did that whole drift car. You can go back and watch those videos if you'd like. And I learned a lot from building that car. And so I plan to improve upon all my skills and hone everything in on something like this. This is a much newer car, has CAN bus, has a lot of integration with different computers that you don't really get exposure to in an E36, or even just if you do have a OBD2 E36, they're just they're just dumb cars in today's world. So having something newer like this is going to pose some challenges, but it will also be that more satisfying to figure stuff out on this car. So I'm really excited for that aspect of it. The best way to learn, in my experience, is to just experience it and learn. So that is what we're gonna do with this car. I'm really excited for it. I've always wanted a black on red E92 M3. That was like always the holy grail spec for me. This one barely counts, but it still is black on red 6-speed manual, and that was what was most important to me. Stay tuned for some more content on this car. Drop a like, comment, subscribe, share the video with a friend. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Peace.